This week on the government and you. And of course, people are saying we have a right to this. Some of them don't even know what their basic rights are. But we are saying today that in every free state, a citizen should be able to disagree with some policies of the government and say, no, I don't agree with this or I don't agree with that. What is your take on that? Hello and a very warm welcome to you. This is the government and you, and yes, we talk about the relationship between you and the government. You as a citizen, you have your civic obligations to perform, and the government has its own functions that are stipulated by the Constitution and the laws governing the society. I'm Itohan Olomo. After this quick break, we'll be right back to tell you what we are discussing this week. You're welcome back. If you just joined us, this is the government and you. And this week on the show, we are going to be taking a look at dissent, disagreement, coming from the people. Is dissent a very, very fundamental part of integral states? And you're here to tell you that, yes, dissent is a fundamental part of every free state. We're joined by a legal practitioner, Justice Ojeno, who has a very good experience in terms of public policy and issues that pertain to the citizenry. We welcome you to the government and you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
And of course, people are saying we have a right to this. Some of them don't even know what their basic rights are. But we are saying today that in every free state, a citizen should be able to disagree with some policies of the government and say, no, I don't agree with this or I don't agree with that. What is your take on that?
It cannot be better said than the way you just put it. And I feel that in alliance with everything you just said, that it is one of the cores, one of the fulcrums upon which democracy stands on, upon which free government stands on. The only place where there is no free speech are places that we are in, maybe places like Uzbekistan, North Korea and all. Those are the places where the people don't have an opinion. Whatever it is that the government wakes up to say, they shove it down the throat of the people, and the people have to accept it. And in such states, we see when the people accept it, people go lean, people die, people don't have houses, people don't have freedom to move. No, all freedoms are shut down because of the fact that Baron de Montesquieu has said it, the great French philosopher, that if you give a set of persons powers, they are going to push and push and push to the extent that such powers can be extended. And of course,
corrupts absolutely.
Yeah, and power corrupts, and absolute power also corrupts absolutely. And that's what happens in such situations. But in a situation where where pushbacks are allowed, where we very well agree that nobody has a monopoly of ideas or of good ideas, that okay, this one brings this idea, that one brings this idea, and we rub it off, and whichever is stronger is what is sustained. That is what brings out the best of the best in persons, the best of the best in societies, the very marketplace of ideas, the very freedom to say, okay, this idea is better than this one, so let us go with this one. Nobody has a monopoly of ideas. And of course, if I may just free
please
flow.
Go ahead.
Our laws also very well demonstrate it. Section 38 talks about your right to freedom of religion. You're the one that knows the way you want to go to heaven. God, yes. The other person to know the way they want to go to heaven. It is not shoved down anybody's throat. Section 10 says Nigeria is a secular state. Section 39, which is the core of this whole conversation, actually says that there is a freedom of expression. You have the right to express your own opinion, proselytize, and all. Also, Section 40 also now says that you have a right to freedom of association. Choose a set of persons whose opinions, whose beliefs that you choose to go with. Some people can say, okay, it is this form, it is the APC that they want to go with. So also the section 220, section 221 that talks about political parties too, you can align and say, okay, these policies are best for the Nigeria as a state. The other set of policies for PDP are the best. So the fact that, okay, the exercise, the back and forths, everybody can be involved in a debate and all.
Cross-pollination of ideas.
Absolutely, cross-pollination of ideas.
Comes, the other idea comes, and the freedom to actually express those ideas is why we are a free state.
And we must always watch the government. The government, for example, in a democracy like us, they try to steal those freedoms from us by bringing draconian laws. For example, they say law against hate speech. They say social media ban and all. The fact that they also ban Twitter means that they reduce the means that the people can use to express themselves. We saw that it was the instrumentality of that social media platform that was used in the last, in the penultimate election, the one before the last, that was used to engineer the bringing of this present government administration. And we saw that, yeah, indeed, the fact that you allow people to freely express themselves can actually bring a change, not just in policies, but in administrations, in government, in which political party is in power. We saw the way PDP was bragging that they were going to be in government for the next 50 years. But because there was freedom, and we must thank the government of President Goodluck Jonathan for that, the fact that he just left everybody to express themselves. So the people must keep pushing back to ensure that that freedom is not taken. Because if that freedom is taken from the people, then
there's nothing that we have left.
There's nothing we have left. We can just pack off our democracy, which is constitutionally guaranteed. Check the provision of Section 2, Section 3, and Chapter 2 of the Constitution. You will see that we were declared to be a democracy. And if we are saying that we want to continue to be a democracy, the people must be allowed to always express themselves.
Okay, we are here to ask questions on behalf of the people because, for instance, the government, our constitution, Nigerian constitution of 1999 as amended, starts by saying, we the people. And if we are saying we the people in the constitution, how come the people don't have a say when it comes to issues like education, when it comes to issues like security, which is supposed to be a fundamental right that citizens should have? And the issue of, you just talked about the social media ban as well. You talk about expression, freedom of expression, but I cannot express myself as a citizen when I don't have the medium to do so. And when, if I say a particular thing, I am told this is hate speech and I'm clamped down. What can citizens do in this situation?
In this situation, citizens cannot stop. Whatever it is that we have been doing, we have to continue doing it, no matter the wave, no matter the resistance from government, and we have to step it up. We have to be a bit more organized in the way we actually push the agenda of people, which is the guarantee, the protection of our freedoms, of our existing freedoms. So we must be at it, we must keep pushing. We cannot relent. It's civil society is to more. We should get organized. We should form ourselves into civil society, into the better and formidable civil society organizations. We must also ensure that we use the instrumentality of the courts. A lot of the actions of the government can be challenged in court, and to a large extent, we have seen the courts actually intervene. For example, we saw the decision that was given, was it last week, with respect to Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. Despite the fact that, okay, the government is deciding in a particular way, the court was bold enough to say, you owe him 1 billion for the way you went about carrying out dehumanizing him and abusing his fundamental human rights. Mr. Sunday Igboho too. So whatever it is that the government is doing, that is wrong. These are some of the means that we can use to push back. Yeah, escalate it to the international community that this is what is happening. Christians are being marginalized, or Christians are being killed disproportionately in some parts of the country. We have seen that if we make moves like that, the government that is either recalcitrant or dormant before, somehow they get gingered and they come up to try to save the day, or maybe even save their face, if that is even what they are doing, but so long as it benefits the Christian community and all communities.
All glory to God. So I like the way you said ginger. So we are trying to also ginger the people to be able to speak up, because you are actually a very, very vital part of the government. Democracy is a two-way street. It's made up of the people and the government, and you are indeed the government because you selected these leaders by carrying out the process of election. And we have a general election coming up soon. But before we go into the other aspects of this discussion, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. And we'll be telling you this time around what you should do, how you should actually go about making your voices heard. Stay with us.
The channel that is all about you. Welcome to Love World XP, dedicated to bringing you the best Christian entertainment.
When you're struggling to keep your time correctly, go and examine it with the Holy Spirit.
Bring on the laughs as you enjoy comedy.
We are soldiers of the Lord.
New songs from the Love World singers that will keep you worshiping always.
Every day, my power unfolds.
New original drama series.
And even generally in life.
New talk shows and so much more to keep you in good company.
In such a way that it can be a solution to somebody's problem.
Plus, we added in some throwbacks because some shows are so nice you have to watch them twice.
The winner is
Love World XP, entertainment beyond borders.
Well, you're welcome back. If you just joined us, this is The Government and You. And this week on the show, we are addressing the issue of dissent as an integral part of a democracy. I want to quickly read this. To question, to challenge, and to verify. Generally, to ask the government things. These are the rights of citizens in a democracy. And if we say we are practicing a democratic system of government, which Nigeria, based on the fact that we have a constitution describing us as a democratic state, if we say we are practicing democracy, we should actually practice it fully. And that's what we are saying today. We are telling you your voice matters. Don't stop talking. Keep talking. I'm not going to say keep saying it, don't stop talking. But we still have our guest in the studio who has been telling us the fact that, yes, indeed, we have the right to disagree with the government, policies of government. Now, specifically, elections are coming. You know, these are the times where we see our governments calming down, accepting a lot of things, and letting a lot of issues slide. You mentioned the issue of the Twitter ban that was just lifted. Is that a political gimmick? Is it because the general elections are fast approaching that we're having this ban lifted? What's your take on that?
I think so, of course. I know that they lifted it in order to appease a block of voters.
A block of voters.
A block of voters.
Those that are actually vocal.
The ones that are vocal and the ones that are graduating into some age grades. For example, the 18s, the 18,
because those
19,
are the ones
20.
that actually really use social media.
Yes, they are the ones that were, a lot of them were deprived, and I suspect that there's going to be serious protest votes against the government of the day, because once they are reminded that, okay, one of the means, because they calculated a certain number of billion, I think over 300 billion, or if I'm not mistaken, that has been lost to non-use of that social media platform. And the fact that, okay, the people who lost this revenue are the people, the entrepreneurs in this age bracket. So I think that they did it for that purpose. And also the fact that they know that it was what they used to win the other way, in the other elections. And if, by chance, their opposition are able to use other social media platforms to their detriment, it's gonna be seriously working against them.
When we talked about dissent, it actually goes both ways. You know, you mentioned the penultimate general elections and the fact that social media played a great role in maybe moving the election one way or the other.
Yes.
And now elections are approaching. We're hearing that the ban has been lifted. People can now express themselves, even though some people are still in in detention centers, various detention centers, because they actually spoke up. What can we do to make our youths continue to speak? What can we do? Because there's so much political apathy. Some of them are saying, if I say something, I'm going to be picked up, I'm going to be arrested, and probably if I don't have the right backing, I don't have any godfather or anybody supporting me, I may stay in prison for so long. So for someone that has that type of mindset, that I'll probably be arrested, what can you say to that person in terms of how can I dissent? How can I disagree with the government without being thrown in jail?
Okay, we have to first know that the right to dissent is usually best exercised by people who first have the will to dissent, not just any kind of will, a strong will to dissent. So after a person is established that a person has a strong will to dissent, then a person must strategize. Okay, if I get arrested, what do I do? Do I know any lawyer that can escalate this issue for me? Do I know any journalist? Because social media is now a serious tool for ensuring and assuring freedom these days. Once, okay, a person is arrested, the person knows that, okay, a lawyer already knows. You have a journalist friend or people who have journalist friends, they already know. Once those two are aware, then we know that, okay, while the lawyer is taking up the issue using the judicial system, which is always quick, in all fairness to our judiciary, they're always quick to actually guarantee or protect the fundamental human rights to free speech and related rights. For example, the right to dignity of the human person. The person should not be beaten. The right to liberty. The person should not just be locked up so forever. Yeah. So the courts actually quickly get the person discharged. While that is being dealt with in the court of law, in the court of public opinion, the journalists can escalate it. And if it is something that is the government is not backing down so easily, escalate it to the international community, international human rights bodies and all. We have seen the government back down predominantly, not in all cases. I must admit to that. So once those are put in place, then we are very, very sure that really the people can really participate in mass. And one thing I usually say is, if 1% of the critical mass of any population decide and are bent on a particular way of doing things, if they show serious passion, no government can ignore that. 1% of the Nigerian population is about 2 million people. If you say you want to lock people up, the Nigerian prison system can only take less than 80,000. So that's less than 0.0.0%.
So, but we need to have people ready to sacrifice.
Yes, we must. Yes. So that's where it actually starts from, because it is not just in Nigeria. In fact, let me start from Nigeria. One of the greatest persons who have ensured that we enjoyed the most human rights in this country is Mr. Gani Fawemi of blessed memory. He fought for so many things that you and I are enjoying now. In fact, so many things that you and I take for granted now, at his own sacrifice. It's not just him. The people, women now vote. We take it for granted. Yeah. We didn't know that there was this woman in America in 1872. Despite the fact that there was a law that women should not vote, she still went ahead to vote, and she was locked up. She was convicted of a crime, but because she did what she did. Another example is Rosa Parks. And that was what made Martin Luther King very popular. Yeah. The fact that on a in a white only space on a bus, it was empty. Despite the fact that it was white only, she sat down. That's her mode of expressing herself, that it is wrong.
It was an empty seat. I had the right to sit down.
I had the right to sit, and she sat down. Of course, she was convicted and she was arrested and all. And that was what brought that's why a lot of blacks are free in America. Brown and Board of Education. Black people said we'll go to school in the same school as the whites are going to. That's the reason why we have mixed classes. So Gani Fawemi too did a whole lot of things. He knew that, okay, this thing, they will arrest me for it. He still went against it. And a lot of the times he challenged them in court. So that is why a lot of us are enjoying some of these things. So it starts with, there must be a will. Somebody must be willing to greatly say, okay, this is wrong. And it is not to say that there are not already people who are doing a whole lot of that. There are plenty lawyers who are unsung heroes, who are taking the government to court, who are taking the government to task on a whole lot of these issues. There are also CSOs, civil society organizations. One prime example is SERAP. SERAP is always waiting for the government to announce one thing. Then the next thing, they have sued the government. The people may not know. Yeah, we may not have the people who are as giant as the Ganifa Remi, but there are many Ganifa Remis everywhere that are willing to vent some of these issues in court. And through that, we can force the hand of the government to be able to change on some of the policies that we think that are not favorable to them, and even altogether do a change of administration by way of replacing them in elections. Or we can also ensure that we can have recall of some of these legislators and all.
The recall situation is one area that we have not really tested. The right to actually recall a senator, a serving senator, we have that right, but we've not really exercised it. We tried, I know in Kogi State, they tried to have Dino Melai, but that went.
Yeah, it's because of the way the Constitution is couched in that regard. It is almost very, very impossible.
Do you know what? Let's discuss this recall in a very, very separate episode, because we really need to learn a lot about the fact that we have this right.
Yes.
And of course, we'll talk about some other rights that we have that we may not know about.
Yes.
Like we probably just deal with some of the constitutional safeguards that are available to us.
Yes, so that we'll be able to express ourselves.
So, well, it's been a very, very interesting discussion I've been having with my guest, Justice Ojeno, and is saying emphatically that you have a right to disagree. Dissent is essentially disagreement, but that does not mean you should carry weapons. You said carry placards, use your social media platforms, use whatever avenue you have to say, no, we don't agree with this policy of government. It is your right. Your voice actually matters. It is also time for us to draw the curtain on this week's episode of The Government and You, but I want to make a very, very special request. If you have not given your life to Jesus Christ is coming very, very soon. We'll have a card up there with the numbers of our counselors that you can call to discuss with them and give your life to Jesus Christ. He is the only solution, and his government is above every government of the world. And again, I must say thank you so much for making our time. And I told you, you are going to be our guest when we are discussing about recall. And of course, you are youth. We need you to also talk about youth participation.
Yes,
there's so much apathy. We need the youth to speak up. Some of them are saying, just like we said, they don't want to talk because they feel they'll get arrested. So we need you to encourage our youths. We would have you again, and I'm very sure you honor us.
Of course, it will be my pleasure.
And that's why we said it here, so that everybody's hearing that you're going to come. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
Well, that's as much we can take. I am Ito Han Olomo Agbodo. God bless you.